In a distant age, there was a legendary kingdom. It was famous for producing some of the most powerful mages in the world. But one day, the Royal Mage Corps was forced into a brutal battle against the dreaded Dragon King. They gathered their absolute finest spellcasters. They unleashed countless high-tier spells. But despite all their efforts, not a single attack could overcome the creature's overwhelming power. One by one, every single mage was completely defeated. Just when it seemed like humanity was about to be totally annihilated, the Dragon King simply decided to leave. But before flying away, he left behind a terrifying warning that humanity would never forget. Long before those catastrophic events, deep inside a dangerous forest filled with spirits and magical beasts, a young fire dragon found a quiet cave to build her nest. After a tremendous amount of effort, she laid a single dragon egg. The process had exhausted her so deeply that she barely had any strength left in her body. Even still, before leaving the cave to search for food, she carefully covered the surrounding ground with flames to keep the egg warm. While she was flying over the forest looking for prey, she spotted two magical beasts. They looked like the perfect meal. However, she was weakened by the extreme exhaustion of laying her egg. Because of this, she made a fatal mistake and failed to notice that several human hunters were hiding nearby. Within mere moments, the entire situation was reversed. The hunter had instantly become the hunted. Sometime after that tragedy, a pregnant wildcat happened to discover that exact same cave. She belonged to the parrot cat race. In this world, they are considered the most highly intelligent feline species in the entire magical forest. Since this cave was usually inhabited by terrifying dragons, almost zero predators ever dared to approach it. On top of that, the inside was warm and packed with rats. This made it the absolute perfect place to give birth to her kittens. That very same night, her kittens were born into the world. As the tired mother rested beside them, something unexpected happened. The giant egg, which was hidden safely beneath the litter, suddenly began to shake. Moments later, a tiny baby dragon cracked right through the shell and appeared directly in front of the mother cat. For a few tense seconds, she simply stared at the strange little creature, who looked completely different from her own children. Even so, she did not show the slightest hint of fear or rejection. Instead, she warmly welcomed him as though he were just another one of her kittens, completely unaware of any potential danger. And just like that, the little fire dragon became a part of this adorable feline family. Growing up as the youngest sibling among them all, the mother cat would often care for the children and wonder exactly what kind of future awaited such an unusual kitten. The days quickly passed by. Once the kittens had grown a little older, the mother cat began taking them outside to teach them how to hunt rats. She explained that simply watching was not going to be enough. They actually needed to memorize every single movement if they wished to survive on their own someday. Demonstrating her years of survival experience, she quickly caught numerous rats while allowing the kittens to carefully observe every step of the hunt. Now, besides being exceptionally intelligent, these parrot cats had also been blessed by Mother Nature with the rare ability to use different kinds of magic. Because of this, each of the older siblings possessed their own unique magical abilities. The youngest sibling, however, was very different. Being a dragon, he was completely unable to use the exact same spells that they could, but in exchange, he possessed overpowering abilities of his own. He could easily spread his wings, soar through the open skies, and breathe destructive fire. As soon as the family witnessed the little dragon showing off his powers, everyone celebrated with massive enthusiasm. The mother cat smiled proudly and remarked that her son could simply use a completely different kind of magic from the rest of the siblings. Shortly after that, she noticed a group of humans passing right through the forest. Seizing the opportunity, she decided to teach her children another incredibly important survival lesson. She explained that humans called the specific area the forest of the newcomers. Many people entered it to hunt rats and capture other magical creatures. She also made sure to tell them that humans were a very complicated race. Some of them were kind and respected all forms of life, while others could be unimaginably cruel. There were even individuals strong enough to fight enormous bears. To people like that, parrot cats were nothing more than easy prey. After listening carefully to her warnings, the four siblings memorized a human scent. That way, they would be able to recognize humans from far away and completely avoid any dangers encounters in the future. Once she realized that they had all understood the lesson, the mother cat finally felt at ease. Time passed by once again. One day, while she was looking after her children. The mother cat was suddenly enveloped by a brilliant light. Because she was such an extraordinarily powerful feline, she had actually been targeted by a summoning spell cast by human mages. Knowing there was absolutely no way to resist the magic, she simply looked at her children and gave them her final words of guidance. She urged them to continue living their lives as best as they possibly could. She reminded them that they had already learned everything necessary to survive on their own. Even so, she warned them that the magical forest remained an extremely dangerous place. She told them that whenever it was necessary, they must always protect one another. She also explained that if they continued living in the forest, they would one day reunite with their other siblings scattered across the world. As long as they still carried the family scent, they would surely be recognized and welcomed with pure affection. Therefore, they had absolutely nothing to fear. Right before disappearing completely, she made one final request. She begged that all of them live happy lives. The 4 kittens were completely devastated as they helplessly watched their mother vanish right before their eyes. For the very first time since the moment he had been born, the little dragon could no longer hold back his tears. The years continued to pass. Once they had fully grown, the older feline siblings set off on their own to live independent lives. As a result, the young dragon remained alone inside the old cave where he had been raised. Exactly as he had learned since childhood, he continued hunting rats every day for food. However, the joy that had once filled his daily life had completely disappeared. Loneliness made each passing day feel far longer than the last. Sometime later, everything changed because of an unexpected surprise. His eldest sister returned to the cave, accompanied by her mate. As soon as she introduced him to her younger brother, the dragon stepped closer just to smell him. Realizing that he carried the exact same scent as his sister, he felt relieved and immediately accepted him as part of the family. Not long after that, a brand new litter of kittens was born inside the old cave. During that time, the young dragon went out every single day to catch rats, making sure there was enough food for his sister to feed her kittens. Now fully grown, he finally smiled again. Having his family back by his side made all of his sadness completely disappear, and those days became some of the happiest of his life. Just as his mother had done in the past, the fire dragon began teaching the little kittens how to hunt. More importantly, he constantly repeated what he considered to be the most important lesson of all: never approach humans. Meanwhile, because of the Yellow Dragon King's attack many years earlier, the first prince had grown up hearing the exact same warning over and over again: never harm a cat. Everyone in the kingdom knew that if even a single cat were injured, the legendary dragon might return and turn everything around him into a blazing sea of flames. As the days passed, the young prince gradually formed a close friendship with the cat that accompanied him. Whenever he successfully cast a spell, he was rewarded with enthusiastic praise from his little companion. Those joyful moments steadily strengthened the bond between the two of them. A year passed in the blink of an eye, and their friendship had become something truly special. They shared meals, spent nearly all their time together, and behaved almost like brothers. During that period, the prince also noticed something remarkable. The wild cat possessed an extraordinary talent for magic. Compared to him, the prince felt that he still had a great deal of training ahead if he hoped to reach the same level. When the king learned that his son was spending so much time with a wild cat from the forest, he became deeply concerned. He immediately remembered the incident involving the legendary dragon that had nearly destroyed the entire kingdom years before. Despite possessing enough power to wipe the nation off the map, that creature had ultimately chosen to spare humanity. After giving it some thought, however, the king concluded that there should be nothing to worry about. His son had never harmed the cat, so there was no reason for the fire dragon to appear in a rage. Yet, no sooner had he finished thinking this than a massive warning bell echoed outside the castle. The legendary fire dragon had suddenly appeared once again. This time, the humans reacted very differently from before. No one dared to attack. Everyone remained at a distance, nervously watching as the cat ran over to the prince to play with him before respectfully approaching the dragon. Soon afterward, the two began speaking in the secretive language of cats, since no one else would understand their conversation. A soldier who knew the language stepped forward to translate. According to him, the cat was asking the dragon for the young human prince to be taught magic. Upon hearing those words, the protagonist finally understood why his nephew had been disappearing into the forest every night. He had been secretly going out to teach magic to the prince. Initially, the fire dragon showed his disapproval. In his eyes, becoming so close to humans was wildly dangerous. His nephew, however, insisted that there was nothing to worry about. According to him, the prince was an exceptionally kind person who would never do anything cruel. Not long afterward, the first prince himself appeared before them. As the dragon observed him, he saw exactly what his nephew had described. He was a gentle, warm-hearted human. Moreover, the little cat had always been intelligent and sensible. The dragon realized that all the lessons he had repeated over the years about cherishing friendships had truly been taken to heart. Faced with the situation, Neko fell into deep thought. What did he truly want? He realized that if he could help that boy grow into a great ruler in the future, perhaps cats would become even more respected throughout the entire kingdom. Unable to reach a conclusion on his own, Neko decided to speak directly with the king before making his decision. Using a powerful transformation spell, he took the form of a winged cat. He then requested an official audience and was granted permission to enter the castle. During the meeting, he introduced himself as the dragon responsible for protecting the cats that lived in the forest. He explained that the cat accompanying the prince was one of the creatures under his care and had learned magic directly from him. Now, that very cat wished for some of that knowledge to be passed on to the first prince. If the king had no objections, Neko was willing to grant the request. At first, the king was extremely worried. After all, the techniques mastered by the cat were considered extraordinary forms of magic, bordering on supreme secrets. Sensing the king's hesitation, Neko tried to reassure him. He explained that he had learned everything from the ancient spirits of nature. According to him, anyone capable of communicating with the spirits could study magic in the exact same way. What Neko did not realize was that the techniques taught by the spirits actually possessed such immense power that they could completely alter the balance between nations. Another matter also caught the king's attention. The name Neko had always sounded unusual to him. Among humans, that title meant something close to Dragon Emperor. It was a designation strictly reserved for dragons of extraordinary power and high status. Neko, on the other hand, simply thought of himself as a dragon that breathed fire. Deep down, he had been raised as a cat by his adoptive mother ever since he was born. Because of that, he rejected the royal title and asked the king to call him the dragon cat from that day forward.